Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. Bachelorette Jenn has responded to Devin's video. She did an emergency interview with Viall of the Viall Files podcast. I'm going to share the whole clip. Let's be quite honest. Every person who's listened to it so far told me it's pretty, I don't want to say lame, but that there isn't too much tea. But that's okay. We still want to hear what is said as far as the he said, she said of it all. So we're going to get to that in a second. I just recorded an interview with Susie Evans. If you want to listen to it, it's on the Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Otherwise, it'll be up on tomorrow morning's episode. I asked Susie about Devin and the breakup. Why? Because Susie and Clayton had one of the best breakups in Bachelor Nation. They had a really great formula for how to break up. They went on Caitlin Bristow's podcast, who they trusted, and she walked them through their breakup. It was fantastic. It really, prevented a lot of the mess that we're seeing now with Jen and Devin. But anyway, if you want to listen to that episode, it'll be up at midnight tonight, and you can go listen to it right there. Scan that QR code for free, or check it out right now on patreon.com/Dave Neal. All right, let's get into it. And of course, we talked about Clayton and other things, but it was a very interesting conversation. Susie was on my show promoting her new podcast, Live, Laugh, Lies. All right, here it is. Nick Viall, I guess they're at their lake home, and they beamed Jen Tran into their office in Los Angeles to ask about Devin.
Do you want to, should we just get into the Devin of it all then?
I mean, isn't that everybody's questions these days?
Yes.
All right, so like elephant in the room, yesterday Devin posted, well, I don't understand why. I didn't know you could post more than 10-minute videos on Instagram, so I think he maybe did us all a favor learning the long form. But all jokes aside, for whatever reason, this seemed to be the way he decided to share his truth, as he says. Have you seen the video?
I have not seen the video, and I don't plan on it.
Producer texting right here. Okay, that's not good TV.
Okay. We love that.
Yeah,
love that
I mean, it's just, I know what happens. I don't need to watch a 13-minute video on it, and he's wasted already 6 months.
Maybe the producer's subscribing to the Rush Hour podcast. Who knows?
So my life, I'm not going to give him another second, let alone 13 minutes.
Good for you. Period.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. Yes.
That being said, he obviously feels a certain way. I mean, I guess when was the last time you talked to Devin? And is there a chance that maybe you guys could mend the fences? Because for whatever reason, he seems upset, or he feels like his POV, isn't understood.
I can't believe Nick doesn't understand why Devin feels like his POV isn't understood. He quite literally hasn't spoken yet. Now, I disagree with the medium and general execution of Devin and what he said and how he said it, but to think that he didn't deserve to go on a podcast and discuss this, I mean, come on.
Do you in any way feel like there's things out there that he would like to be out there, or, why do you feel like he's chosen to go about it this way? Given that he was a guy that you were engaged to for a while.
I have no idea why somebody would do this, let alone somebody that I was engaged to would release private texts between us two. When you get engaged to somebody, when you're dating somebody, your first thought is never, oh my gosh, these texts.
By the way, they couldn't alter this wide shot here. The shot should have been like this. You know what I mean? Like, what are they? Anyway, just move the camera. I'm sure maybe the camera's bolted to the wall. What do I know? Sorry.
Text might actually be blasted for the whole world to see. Like, that is such an invasion of privacy. So
I agree. It was an invasion of privacy, but it did show that the characterization of what went down was a little different. This was a guy that was FaceTiming her till 2 a.m. till he was falling asleep. There was a lot in those text messages. In the next video, I'm going to share someone else's perspective of what went down in those text messages. If anyone thinks I'm biased, I'm going to share other perspectives.
When I heard about this, I had so many friends and family texting me, calling me about this. I truthfully felt so betrayed, so just disrespected, and honestly just upset and disappointed. Like, I don't have a problem with him going out there and saying what he needs to say, but I have a problem with him invading my privacy and releasing texts without telling me, without just giving me notice. And also just like some of the things, he conveniently blurred out certain things but forgot to blur out other things that were very, very private. It's like,
share the unblurred version. Now listen, I agree with her. I mean, I'm going to be redundant here. the intimate text messages were not needed. He said, I didn't mean to, and he apologized. But that's the kind of the problem is the haste and sloppiness. You have to be very careful on this thin ice.
Like, my mom's on the internet, dude. Like, what's up with that? It's just, it was disrespectful, and I don't appreciate it at all. In regards to what he has to say, like, he's allowed to have a side to the story. Like, he was a part of this relationship too. He has all the rights to say whatever he wants to say. And I'll say it, like, he had time at AFR to say it. And I don't know about you guys.
No. I reject the premise that it was a fair place for Devin to share things. He claims he went into AFR. They don't let you watch what happened beforehand, saying, we talked leading up to this. The text messages that he shared said, hey, I love you, from Jen, hey, I love you. Whatever happens, just know I care about you, blah, blah, blah. So when he laughed and said, are you joking at AFR? It was because he didn't think he was going into such a hostile situation because he didn't believe the characterization of what Jen said is what went down. So the idea that, he had a chance to speak. No. That's not the venue. Jen Tran is the lead. She's the champion of the show. Everyone's there rooting her on. He's the villain. He's the heel. You're not going to get a constructive conversation out.
Hear very much of anything. So he had time to share his piece. If he thinks that he wants to share more, he's more than welcome to do that. What I don't condone is invading my privacy and going out there and doing that.
True.
So
that seems fair.
That does seem very fair.
Yeah. So you're really just more, obviously the way he's gone about it, the messages.
It just seems like you've had so much time now to think of your story and your plan, but it's like at AFR, you were quite quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're so naive at best to think that somebody on live TV, or at least taped live, can just rattle off their rebuttal to somebody they were in love with. I think that is naive at best, to not have that grace to say, has Natalie, has Jen been in that position on the hot seat where you've got 2-3 minutes to answer questions that might involve hour-long conversations? No, this is why podcasting is so important, because it is a much longer conversation. And look, I understand some text messages. She kind of made it seem like he just ghosted her. He wouldn't respond to this, he wouldn't respond to that. So he drops receipts saying, no, we talked for 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. There were plenty of times where the receipts that Devin shared were valid if he did a better job of taking out all of the sexual stuff, did a better job of taking out, but just because she said, he started pulling away as soon as Hawaii was over. From his perspective, she actually dumped him in the text messages. He was saying, I don't have time for this, or I'm going to work, or I was sleeping, or the AC went out because I had a hurricane. My dog's got an infection in his eye. He's saying all this, and then there's text messages where she's like, look, it's just not working out. And she wanted to delay. She wanted to not go to their happy couple visit. So it's way more complicated. Now, she might have had the intuition that she picked the wrong guy. Absolutely. But this is me, Fireman Dave coming here saying, all right, let's just hose down all of this chaos. It's more complicated. The problem I have with Devin, as I've said, in literally every video here, is that he had that one shot to share his side, and he went too far with slamming down the receipts that most people aren't rationally looking at his perspective because they're too worried about the offense of sharing that.
Do you know why Devin, or can you guess? There was that hot mic moment where Devin was like, what's going on here? He seemed confused. I will say, having been a part of AFR, it is live. It's very short. It's very pressure packed.
Thank you.
Things don't go always the way people imagine, so that can happen.
Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. It's a metaphor. It's a Mike Tyson quote, I believe. But Devin was not ready to have this conversation that she was having. He was not ready to be the punching bag.
But from your standpoint, why do you think he said that?
I honestly have no idea why he said that. I have no idea why he thought it would. I don't know where he thought it was going to go. I have no idea his mindset that week, because he truthfully, we hadn't been talking that week. And the week before that, I got some very mean messages from him, and we just we're not on good terms, because
I say share the messages. Eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, but let's giddy up and do it. So he says that the day before or whatever, she sent a message saying, I love, I care about you. Whatever happens, just know that, whatever. So for her to say right here, I don't know why he felt that way. I'm feeling as if that's disingenuous of her to play dumb and to play like, I have no idea why he felt that way when he felt like he was going into more of an amicable breakup. He probably knew he was going to be the bad guy, but they had already talked. They had already, I guess, talked about a lot of the, whatever.
I had asked to talk to him without the cameras, and he had agreed, and then suddenly ghosted me and suddenly was not on the same page as me. And I wanted to have that conversation off camera. So he knew how anxious I was going to be going there. Like, that's not okay to, for the first time, be seeing your ex-fiance on a stage. And he denied me of that right to have a conversation with him before that. And so I don't know what he thought was going to happen. Like, I was on a roller coaster of emotions, of course. Like, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah, I don't know why he said what was going on here. What did he think was going to happen? Was I just going to shake his hand and say, okay, have a good day? Like, nice knowing you.
Nice being engaged.
That makes a lot of sense coming from you, adding that context, because regardless of whatever Devin's timeline is, like, even if he thought you two had some sort of understanding, right? Like you said, you hadn't spoke with at least a week or two. Information's coming in.
So at this point, I don't know who to believe. At this point, if I'm Devin, I clip this. If, like, say they spoke 3 days ago. I don't know. I'm live on the Patreon. Chris, can you tell me if there's any dates here I'm missing? But if they spoke 3 days ago, if I'm Devin, I clip this and say, well, here are the text messages where we did this. Here's the phone call that we made for 32 minutes. If I'm Devin, you do it that way and you kind of take your emotions out. He just didn't have that multimedia available to him by making this an Instagram video.
You have no idea what's going on. You didn't expect him to break up with you. As everyone in your shoes would, you start asking a million questions. How did this happen? How could this happen? Is there someone else? Yada, yada. You start getting messages or reports of another people, arms around people. Whether Devin did it before or after he broke up, what did he expect? It's just like, clearly, if nothing else, he was incredibly sloppy and incredibly inconsiderate of how information could get back to you and how you might feel about it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else he expected, but that, thanks for providing that context, because it makes a lot of sense. Because I wouldn't want anyone to think that, like, he's somehow suggesting that you guys were on some same page.
Well, they so far haven't addressed the point where she wanted to get a separation from him. Someone in the comment section here, because we're recording this live on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Chris said, we all know Nick would call Jen a whiny bee if he wasn't trying to be tactical about this situation. Yeah, I mean, Nick's always all over the place with his opinions here. And again, I'm not, this is what's so annoying is people will just like hear me kind of I'm trying to have really great critical thinking. That doesn't mean I'm trying to be critical. Okay. So I'm trying to look at this and go, all right, Jen's saying she has no idea why this would have happened, but then Devin's releasing these messages that are sort of calling her out in certain ways, saying, hey, I tried to date you. I was doing all this. I was juggling all these things. You were getting mad at me when I couldn't stay up past 2 a.m. to talk to you. Like, I was going to work and all these things. You have to have some sort of empathy for that situation. Again, my next video is going to provide somebody else's summary of what went down. Not mine, not my bias. I'm just going to share a summary that a lot of people are kind of agreeing with, having read the text messages. There may be more that we don't know. I'm sure she's busy, but I encourage Jen to feel as though if Devin wants to share those text messages, she can share the text messages she wants to share, But could Jen believe that Devin was pulling away when he actually wasn't? Yeah, it's called anxious. There's a lot of anxious attachment going on, which we see not just because it's The Bachelor, but it's the new dating. People want to have contact with their partner 24/7. I'm just so grateful to be at that stage of my relationship where if my phone call goes missed, I don't think my wife's cheating on me, or I don't think she's falling out of love with me. There's a lot of relationships that are built on thin ice, and there's a lot of insecurity that comes from that. A lot of that's being in your 20s. A lot of that's being on a show where, the world sees it all play out and, analyzes it. So you just have to have a ton of grace for the insecurities that exist on both sides here.
And even if you had talked a couple weeks before, like, so what? Like, clearly when someone breaks up with you, your information comes in, you don't know what to think, left or right, and like he decided to operate in a way that raised a ton of questions regardless of what the timeline exactly is or not.
So again, comments from women in the chat room say the texts definitely tell a story where the girl is trying so hard to push the guy away. It's hard to read. Other people say, well, the texts don't tell the full story. Sure, they don't. But that was probably why Devin wanted to share them in the first place, because people say, oh, you're only showing snippets. So then he drops it all. And people go, wow, you're showing way too much. I agree. There was way too much. There was a way he could have surgically redacted the sexual stuff and redacted a lot of other things, but just show that, hey, these text messages that I'm not, if he was to say, show that he had them, but not actually show them visually, but just say, this batch of text messages show how much I cared about her. I talked to her till 2 a.m. He didn't do that. Again, I could say this a million different ways, but his execution was flawed.
Here's the thing, like the information about this other girl in New York, the pictures, whatever, that didn't even come out until after AFR. So it's like, I wanted to put it in the past at AFR. I'm like, this is it. I just want to be done. And then it's like, every day something is popping up.
But that was after the breakup. And we have to say what happened before the breakup versus after. It could, like I said before, it could be bad optics, but Devin, if he's single, is allowed to go sit next to another woman at a bar if it's after their breakup.
The pictures with the girl, people DMing me, he's making out with this person on this date, and he's flying to the airport with this girl on this date, blah, 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 blah. Now he's releasing text messages. Like, I just, at this point.
If he cheated on her, I think she should let people know. If there's DMs of him making out with somebody while they were still together.
I want to be done, and I want to put this in the past. And this is the last time I'm talking about this, because this is not.
I don't want to call her a liar, and I'm sure she feels that way, but I don't think this is the last time she's talking about it.
What I want. I don't need this breakup to be drawn out for 6 months. I'm done with it, and I'm ready to move on. And at this point in my life, like the way that he has been behaving and releasing our texts and whatever else that he's doing shows to me that this is not the kind of person that I would ever want to spend the rest of my life with anyways. And so I'm ready to move forward with that and know that I'm at the right place in my life right now. And everything truly happened for a reason. Like, it was a blessing in disguise what had happened. And I'm grateful for it, despite all of this mess.
Well, PSA then to anyone listening, do not DM Jen or message Jen or go on her page or give her the 411 and anything D related. She's not interested. She's moving on.
With Jonathan. What?
Yes. What's going on there?
All right, so she's moving on, and so am I. By moving on, I mean I'm going to continue to talk about this because it's interesting, and she's allowed to move on. But Devin's also allowed to share his story. He did not do a good job. If I were Devin, I would take a month off. I would recoup, and then I would go on a podcast, and I would share, his side. Just, take some time off. People aren't going to magically forget about him, but they might come out of it and they might say, you know what, there is more to the story, and all of that jazz. Okie doke. And by the way, I'm not surprised Devin wanted to speak. Again, not to beat a dead horse here, but it's like, what do you want the guy to do? Just idly go by and let this story play out if he thinks that it didn't go that way? Some of the comments we're getting in the Patreon from, honestly, I guess not everyone read the text messages. But Chris said, if someone treated me the way Jen treated Devin in June or July, I may be so hurt I would fall out of love too. It's hard to recover your heart when someone tries to break up with you. That being when Jen tried to break up with Devin. She also said maybe Jen started looking back and thinking maybe Devin wanted to break up since the beginning so he could party all along. I think she's in denial of the way she treated him in June or July. Yeah, I mean, you look at the text messages and you might think it doesn't tell the full story, but I'm telling you, I don't know many people who've read the text messages who go, oh yeah, Jen's still telling 100% of the accurate story. No, there's a truth somewhere in between. Okie dokie. We're coming back right after this with, I'll show you right now what I'm going to read. I'm literally just going to read for you a Reddit thread that is blind spots, why they didn't work out and why Devin pulled away. This is from someone who read all the text messages and is speaking the language I like to speak, which is a little bit more psychology versus just anger, upset. It's like, okay, let's actually give this a fair and neutral look. I'll be accused of microaggressions and this and that, but I think for the most part, people understand we're trying to get it right, and we'll talk all day long in that process. And I think that that's okay. I think we've earned that respect to do that. All right, back with more content right after this.